Hi there, this is Gabe Hoken with City Bike Magazine and Motorcycle Daily. I ride motorcycles so you don't have to. And I am here at American Honda's headquarters in Torrance, California. And I just spent part of the day riding Honda's CBR250R. This is a 2011 model. It's a world model. And it's going to be a very interesting and important sport bike for a bunch of reasons I'll talk about. So what do you got? You have a 249cc liquid-cooled 4-valve single. It's a quick revving, kind of over-square design. Here's Paul Carruthers going by. Wave goodbye, Paul! So it's a very modern design. It's counterbalanced. I think there's something like 9 patents in the motor alone. It's a steel tube frame, but it's actually a trellis design. You can see part of the trellis there through the fairing. So a little more sophisticated design than Kawasaki's 250 Ninja. Certainly a lot more modern design. Styling is of course subjective. It is consistent with Honda's larger sport bikes like the VFR 1200 and the CBR 1000RR. So you can take it or leave it, I guess. That's up to you. This motorcycle is important for the following reasons. It is designed like the 250 Ninja to look like a much larger motorcycle and also to perform like a much larger motorcycle. So this is something that's beginner friendly, but is something that a new rider probably won't get bored with quickly. So let's talk about performance. So the motorcycle weighs in under 360 pounds, full of gas. You have to add some weight for the ABS version. I'll talk about the ABS later. And it probably makes somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 23 or 24 horsepower at the back wheel. Now that's significant because it is down on horsepower from the Ninja 250, which isn't surprising because the Ninja 250 is a twin. It revs higher, but it's actually not as lacking in performance as you might think. So what I found riding this motorcycle on the freeway was that it actually has some very good passing power on tap with just a downshift, quick downshift or two. It also it's also much more user-friendly. The power band is narrower, but it's lower down on the it's lower down in the rev range than the 250 Ninjas. So I think a beginner rider is going to have a much better time riding. And actually this is a motorcycle that would be very suitable for use as an MSF vehicle, to train new riders. Handling, I found a very stable bike, and it also it was very stable, but initially I found it surprisingly, a little bit heavier to steer than the Ninja 250, which surprised me because the wheelbase is marginally shorter. But it is a lighter bike, but it did feel a little bit heavier. But you quickly get used to it, and believe me, this is by no means a heavy motorcycle or a heavy steering motorcycle. It steers very quickly, but it's very stable. And it's very easy to ride quickly in the canyons. We rode in Latigo Canyon and Malibu, the different canyons up there. And what we found was that experienced riders, at most street paces, are not going to have a problem keeping up with much faster, with faster machinery. In fact, a guy on a Moto Guzzi pulled over, a V11 pulled over to let us go by because we were kind of nipping at his heels, as it were. So, brakes. So this is the ABS version, and you can see it has a 3-piston caliper in front, a little more sophisticated caliper than the 2-piston caliper that's on the non-ABS models. The ABS weighs in at about 9 pounds, a 9-pound weight premium over the non-ABS version, but you don't really feel that weight, and the ABS there's nothing special as ABS systems go. It seems to work fine. It's not that obtrusive unless you really stomp on it. Then you'll feel the levers pulsing. And this also has a combined system. So applying the rear brake is going to activate partial power of the front brake, because you can see the two lines there. So, what else? There's some storage under the seat here, not too much. There's a 3.5 gallon gas tank, and we rode about 100 and maybe 110 miles today. And you can see there's just under, there's probably about a third tank left. You also see another nice difference between this bike and the Kawasaki is that you have more comprehensive instrumentations. You have a clock, you have a fuel gauge, and a temperature gauge. So that's a nice advantage. Non-adjustable front suspension. The rear suspension is adjustable for preload only. I didn't think that the shock worked as well as the shock on my 250 Ninja, but you know, I also didn't have time to try to adjust different preload ranges. However, I think it's lacking in damping, as is the front. So the suspension isn't the best, but it's totally adequate for mild, fun riding on two-lane roads, even when they get bumpy. But you definitely start feeling the suspension getting smacked around and a little bit overwhelmed once you start to push it. This muffler is, in addition to being interesting looking, is probably also very restrictive and heavy. And I think that uncorking this bike will probably get it into a much more competitive horsepower range compared to the Kawasaki. So, for $39.99, which is the exact same price as the Kawasaki, you get a motorcycle that's maybe a little more nicely made, some nice details on it, nicer finish, nicer fit. You get an ABS option for another $500. You also get fuel injection, which is an important difference because this motorcycle starts up very quickly and easily, where the Ninja 250 is a little cranky in the mornings when it's cold. You also get slightly wider rear tire, although it's actually the same brand and model as the Kawasaki IRC Road Winners. I wouldn't recommend buying them again to replace them. So I think, so if you were going to ask me which is a better motorcycle, the Ninja 250 or the Honda, I would give you the same response as if you asked me if you should get a ZX6R or a GSXR 600. I would say, are you a Honda fan? Are you a Kawasaki fan? It's going to be a very subjective choice. The Honda does some things better. The Kawasaki does some things better. So the way to make that decision would be to be an informed consumer and really find out the pluses and minuses of each bike. Maybe see what kind of deal you're going to get, and also make a decision on what kind of, if you like the styling or not, and kind of go from there. But I got to say, I don't think you can go wrong with either bike. I'm going to guess the Honda might give you better resale value, but I think they're both terrific motorcycles. But if I had to pick today, I'd probably stick with my Kawasaki. Although seeing one of these improved for racetrack use might change my mind. So you should check it out, and check out motorcycledaily.com for a more in-depth review of this motorcycle. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.